All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. We are back again with another first moon or new moon seventh. It's like it. Another new moon video review is what I'm trying to say. And sorry, it's a little bit later than we anticipated. Kind of almost slipped us that this is the 18th and this is the new moon. But praises to the Abba. We're here, and we're gonna go ahead and bring this celebration in with a little bit of a video review. So once again, you are live in the break with your Akazaki Yahoo. And as always, I'm giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Wamalak, Yahweh Shai, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say Shalom, Wa, Baruch King, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. All praises to the Almighty Yah. Hallelujah.
So be it. Hallelujah.
Yes, indeed. I'm joined this evening, as always, by my most esteemed Kenaniah. Shalom, my king.
Hey, shalom, shalom, my king, and happy new moon. Shalom, shalom, Yasharal. Happy new moon. Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shabbarakatah.
Kind, indeed. Happy new moon, and Yahweh Bashem Yashabraka. All our listeners and viewers, shout out to Kulti Jackie. Shalom, shalom. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get into a quick, well, not a quick video, but a video that was put out by one of our elders, BenaYAH Israel. You may know him here in Hebrews and other various teaching, the historian brother. Anyhow, this particular video is Attack on the Sabbath. These were situations and circumstances wherein the heathen attacked the children of Israel on the Sabbath Yom, hopeful that we wouldn't fight back. And sometimes we did not. Sometimes we did. So it just depends on what the Most High, make the spirit to be at that time. So, but let's get to it and get through it here. Here we go.
Just try to give you something new, something that you have not heard before, and praise be to the Most High. Hopefully, this one delivers for you as well. All right, so here we go, family. Let's just kind of take into current events. So current events, we got all these rumors of wars. You got Trump threatening to go to war with Iran. He just did a kidnapping of the guy that's down in Venezuela, and he's bragging about it, saying that he's very boastful, by the way, saying that, hey, who can touch us, basically. In other words, he believes that no one can touch the U.S., the U.S. and its army. And actually, let me just play just a little bit of a clip from President Donald Trump himself, just so that you can hear it from him himself.
And it was an amazing military feat that took place yesterday. Think of it, an amazing military. People are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex. 152 airplanes, many. Talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed. Unfortunately, I say that, soldiers. Cubans, mostly Cubans, but many killed. And they knew we were coming. The electricity for almost the entire country was, boom, turned off. That's when they knew there was a problem. There was no electricity. Caracas said, there's no electricity. It's not the only people with lights were the people that had candles. It was just off. So we sort of got them a little by surprise, but it was brilliant tactically. It was an incredible thing. But I watched where Schumer, he's such a bad guy. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time. At some point they should say, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job. Their philosophies are so different. But if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, he's a violent guy. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us.
Nobody can take us. That sounds like some biblical speak. That sounds like some biblical speak to me, family. And in fact, let me see if I can share my screen here. And I'm going to pull this up over, and hopefully you can see it. Yeah, hopefully you can see it. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit just for those that have tender eyes like me. So let me pull this in. So just want to read to you just a little bit of Obadiah, because he said a few things, right? Because a lot of times we were watching these things unfold right before our eyes, and we may not be able to tie it back into prophecy, but he is literally speaking truth to power when it comes to prophecy. Because when you look at Obadiah chapter 1, and just kind of read it in context, I'm gonna start at verse 1 and just read down, and let's see if we can hear some of Trump's words in this, where it says, "The vision of Obadiah. Thus says Yahuwah Elohim concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise you, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised." And that's verse 2. Now think about it, family. With all the stuff that the U.S. and this Israeli or the Jewish are doing, are they not being greatly despised by all the works of Benjamin Netanyahu, the state of Israel? They are being greatly despised. You are seeing people are just making comment after comment after comment about that, about how the world perspective on Israel, on the Israeli, has changed so much so that it is even impacting our community. If we're, I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's even impacting our community, because we even had some of our communities being attacked because they thought that we were them. We were like, no, that's not us. But they're putting dirt on our name. But let's keep going, family. But this is chapter 1, Obadiah chapter 1, verse 3, and it reads, "The pride of thine heart has deceived you, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high." And let me do one quick check, make sure the audio is fine. All right, we're good. All right, just want to make sure the audio is fine. All right, verse 3 again, family, says, "The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock, whose habitation is high, that said in your heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? We have the greatest military. There's no one can beat us. We're the best. We have the most lethal military in the world." Can you see the prophecy, family? Can you hear it? Can you hear it in his breath? Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Does America have the eagle, right, as his mascot? "Though thou exalteth thyself as the eagle. And though thou set thy nest among the stars," satellites, space stations. It says, "Thence will I bring thee down, says Yahuwah." Hallelujah. So it is written that the Most High will bring Edom down to the ground. And though Edom is very boastful, And then let's see here. I thought there was another one in here. Let's go to okay. All right. Before we do that, let's go back over to our PowerPoint slide. So just want to stay on topic. All right. So we know that there's prophecy unfolding right in front of us, family, and that we have these wars. One is getting ready to kick off in Iran. And we would kind of see the writing on the wall, because I think I've said this before, where when the Israeli and Iran, when they got into it before, right, and this was called the 12-day war. And this was a 12-day war where many pundits would say that the Israeli, lost in the 12-day war. Matter of fact, a lot of their infrastructure was damaged. So much so that many people would say that, well, Israel doesn't want to deal with Iran, face to face anymore, or at least, not by themselves, because they started it last time by themselves, and they had to come and beg, the big eagle for help, and the big eagle came, and they started attacking Iran as well. And then Iran was like, okay, well, we're going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And then that's when they was like, okay, peace. time out. Because the Strait of Hormuz has about, I believe it's like 40% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And by them shutting that down, that was going to cause a global oil spike all over the place. And that was one thing that they did not want. So then fast forward to today, so in order to start a war back with Iran, you have to solve that oil problem. You have to solve the problem of, if 40% of the oil gets cut off, where are you going to get that oil from? Enter in Venezuela, one of the largest producers of oil on the planet. Go to Venezuela, kidnap Maduro, and Trump is, of course, saying, well, that is our oil, kind of gangster style. That's our oil, right? So supposedly now that the oil issue is resolved, so now if Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, they have a backup plan. Now see, Sis said Greenland as well. But now Trump has a backup plan. Now we're all green to go on Iran part 2. I'm sorry. Now we're all green to go on the Medes part 2, right? Because the Iranians are the biblical Medes, the biblical Persians. When you read about Esther, right? I believe she married King Cyrus. Esther was the queen over Iran. Esther was the queen over, the Persians during that time. So, it is my opinion that you have Israelites deep in Iran. In fact, there are 2 places in Iran where there are Black populations. One of the Black populations in Iran is in the Strait of Hormuz. So the Strait of Hormuz has a town there, mostly Black. That's where the Israelites are, in my opinion. And I forgot the other place. I think the other place where the Blacks are in high concentration is in the ancient Persian Empire, like ancient Persian home within the territory of Iran. That's where you find the concentration also of Black folks in Iran. And also the current president of Iran is from that place. All right, I think he's called Farsi. He's of Farsi origin. So the Israeli, they know about the prophecies of Edom being destroyed. They know about the prophecies of Edom being destroyed by the Medes. And in fact, let me see, did I capture that? Let me see if I captured that. Yeah, I actually did. So let me just show you this real quick, fam, and we'll hop back over here. I just want to show you the, let's see if we could do this. There we go. All right, just want to show you this scripture here. And I know everyone has different interpretations of scripture, but just want to show you that it is written that the Medes would destroy Babylon, or the daughter of Babylon. And so for this, you can see it there, Jeremiah chapter 51. And I guess for this, let's start at verse 8. And it reads, verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain. If so, it said, if so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. Which is funny because you got people here talking about, I'm American, I'm not leaving, I'm not going anywhere. When this happens, you're going to be leaving. Everybody's going to be leaving. And it says, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. It says, Yahuwah has brought forth our righteousness. Come, let us declare in Zion the work of Yahuwah, our Elohim. Verse 11, make bright the arrows, the missiles, gather the shields, It says, Yahuwah has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. For his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it says, it is the vengeance of Yah, the vengeance of his temple. We're going to talk about that temple in a little bit. We are going to talk about that temple in a little bit, most high willing. So as you can see here, family, a couple of things. One, the Medes are going to inflict judgment upon the children of Edom, the children of Babylon, and also in this, these verses, you can also see the reason why, and it has to do with the sacking of Jerusalem, the destroying of the temple, right, of the Most High. These heathens literally put their hands on the temple of the Most High. You got to put that into perspective, family. They thought it wise to not only burn the temple, they thought it wise to destroy the temple, and then they thought it wise to do what's called raising the temple, basically digging it up and covering it up with dirt so that it appeared as though the Most High's temple had never been. This is how much the enemies of Yah hate the Most High. And if you think that after all this time that the Most High is, he's forgiven them, he's kind of swept that up underneath the road, up underneath the rug, and he's like, oh, we good. Don't have to worry about that. You're good, Esau. We good. I understand you was mad at me and everything. That's okay. I understand, Esau, that you went across the world and conquered all these other nations, and you put them underneath your boot, and you committed mass genocide and homicide and unalive, multiple kingdoms and nations that had millions of people that they're now down to zero. They're extinct. I know you did all that, Esau, but we forgive you. Now that's the Christian perspective. That's the Sunday morning perspective. Well, I'll put it to you this way, because I believe there might be some that may not buy into that. But let me tell you, family, because that is a byproduct of what happened during the Inquisition, what happened during, the first early days of Emperor Constantine, when you had a Roman emperor over the Christian church. He was the first bishop of that new church when the Gentiles took it over. This is one of the things that's kept out of the history of the church, but that's a conversation for another day. But anyway, family, as we can see here, the Medes know that there is judgment coming, and they are trying to do anything and everything that they can to stop this from coming to pass. So one of the things that they've done is that they followed the Most High's people all over the earth. Wherever you go, they go. And they always want to make sure that you are under their boot. You might be saying, well, what are you talking about, Brother BenaYAH? Well, let me show you a couple of events through history. So when the Messiah told us in the book of Matthew, because some people will say, well, Israel has gone into slavery in Egypt and stuff like that. But you have to remember that the Messiah himself said that Israel would go into captivity. And this was before, he was crucified. And actually for that, let me pull this back up. Keep going back and forth between the slides here. But let me pull this back up, fam. I just want to show you the words of the Messiah. And you can find this in Matthew's chapter 24. So Matthew chapter 24, these are the words of the Messiah himself. And just for context, we will read down from verse 4. And it says, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying that I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And in fact, family, just kind of pause here for a moment. Remember when the Pope first came into being, his title, and it still is today, called Pontifex Maximus, or the Vicar of Christ, or the replacement of Christ. You can't get any more abominable than that. Verse 5, for many shall come in my name and saying, I am the Christ, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not. For nation shall rise up against nation, or nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes and diverse places. All these are the beginnings of sorrows. Verse 9, Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, because a lot of affliction occurred during that time. And it says, and shall kill you or unalive you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Verse 11. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity, let's pause on that iniquity. Iniquity is lawlessness. Iniquity is lawlessness. And most high, when we will do a teaching on iniquity, because I believe that, I've seen videos out there where people are talking about, the Israelites are trying to uphold the law and that you're in bondage. And I even heard one pastor say, you guys are going to hell. And which was odd, because in the scriptures that talk about who's being thrown into the lake of fire, there's only one word that's associated with the people that's being thrown in the lake of fire. And it is called iniquity, which is lawlessness. Not being lawful, they're being thrown into the lake of fire for being lawless, for having iniquity. Anyway, like I said, that's a topic for another day. We'll probably call that who's in and who's out. We did a one about who's in and who's out of the kingdom. Maybe we should talk about who's going to be in and out of that lake of fire. And iniquity is going to play a huge part in determining that. Hallelujah. So most high willing, we'll come back to that one. But verse 12, when it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Verse 13, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Then you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, and whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which are in Judea flee unto the mountains. So this is the Most High, or the Messiah. Excuse me. The Messiah is giving a warning. He's prophesying about what is getting ready to befall Jerusalem. Right. This is about 33 A.D. So, little did we know that in 70 A.D., when Titus and Vespasian would come and place their feet in Judea, the homeland of the Jews, the homeland of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that during that time, that was going to be a time of great turmoil in the land, the territory of Judah, of great destruction, of great burning, of great unaliving. And there would be people that would flee. There would be people that would hearken unto the words of the Messiah and flee. In verse 16, this is where he says, and then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains. Let them which are on the housetop, not come down to take anything out of the house. In other words, he's saying, run, Forrest, run. And it says, neither let him which is in the field return back to his clothes. That was verse 18. Verse 19, and woe unto them that are with child and them that give suck in those days. But pray, listen, it says, but pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Now, why would the Messiah warn his people that when trouble came, that they should pray that their flight be not in the winter? I think we can all understand that. Winter's cold, wet, catch pneumonia, get freezing. You can pretty much be unalived just by the weather alone. So we understand fleeing during winter, having to run during winter when you don't have a whole lot of supplies. That's not a good thing. Food is not in abundance, right? And the weather is not your friend. But then he also said, neither on the Sabbath day. What does that mean, family? Why would he tell Israel? Why would he tell particularly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi not to, pray that you're not fleeing on the Shabbat? Well, let me show you a few things, family. I'm going to take you back over to the PowerPoint slide. Forgive me if I have to keep bouncing back and forth. But let's pull this one up. And so I was telling you about 70 AD, the fall of Jerusalem. So you may know or you may not know that the fall of Jerusalem was during the season of Passover. I've read some sources that would say, when Titus and friends showed up, that they presented themselves on the ridge to Judah, to Jerusalem on Passover, on Pesach. And let me tell you, family, so think about it this way. You have the Romans who they don't believe in the Most High. The Romans are writing down the things that they are seeing in the skies above Jerusalem during Passover. During Passover, which is a Moedim, right? It is a meeting time between the Most High and the children of Israel. They are showing up and they are literally writing this down in their own words, in their own history books. I mean, for me, family, this was like an amazing, amazing thing to see. And in fact, I'm going to show you, let me show you this. I'll show you, Most High willing, let me show you this. I'm going to show you a book of Tacitus. So Tacitus, he was a Roman historian. And Tacitus, so he's along for the ride, right? And so he is going to, share with us what he's seeing as the Romans are approaching Jerusalem. So this is from a book. It's called The Histories by Tacitus. I actually have this book in Kindle. So you can actually get this in Kindle as well. Make sure you get book 5. So get a book of Tacitus that has book 5. Because book 5 has to do with the conquering of Rome, or by Rome on Jerusalem. And within this book, you kind of scroll down a little bit and you see a couple of things that's worthy to be quoted. So here we see, just to kind of pick a couple of paragraphs out. And this is talking about the fall of Jerusalem. And so Tacitus is about to go into, who these people are that they're getting ready to conquer. And so this is Tacitus saying, and then he says, as I'm about to relate the last days of a famous city, which is of Jerusalem, and it says, it seems appropriate to throw some light on its origin. Some say that the Jews were fugitives from the island of Crete, who settled on the nearest coast of Africa about the time when Saturn was driven from his throne by the power of Jupiter. Now, I got, I believe one of the Mores also has this, but we have some old pictures of the inhabitants of Crete, and they're not pale skinned. They are not pale skinned people. We have it on Family Crest, but that's a story for another day. Let me keep reading. It says, evidence of this is sought in the name. It says, there is a famous mountain in Crete called Ida. The neighboring tribe, the Idea, came to be called Judea by the barbarous lengthening of the national name. Others assert that in the reign of Isis, the overflowing population of Egypt, led by, I'm not even going to try that name, and Judah, discharged itself into the neighboring countries. Many again say that they were a race of Ethiopian origin. Wait a minute. Now this is Tacitus now. He is the historian for Rome, writing down that it's like many people say that they are a race of Ethiopian origin. Now that should tell you right there that they have to look Ethiopian for people to believe that they're Ethiopian. They got to look it right, family. And this also speaks to the Lakesh relief. The Lakesh relief is before the time of Tacitus. So the Lakesh relief was probably about 700 years before he wrote this, right? About 700 years before he wrote this, you can look at the Lakesh relief, and sure enough, they have short, nappy, woolly hair in the Lakesh relief. So when you see this, when you see Tacitus saying, many again say that they were a race of Ethiopian origin, that lines up perfectly with the Lakesh relief depictions of the tribe of Judah. And it says, many again say that they were a race of Ethiopian origin who, in the time of King Cephas, were driven by fear and hatred of their neighbors to seek a new dwelling place. Then it goes on to say, it says, others describe them as a Syrian horde who, not having sufficient territory, took possession of part of Egypt, Africa, and founded cities of their own in what is called the Hebrew country. It says lying on the borders of Syria. So you get it, family. You get the idea. So Tacitus, just before they're going to conquer this famous city of Jerusalem, the capital city, Jerusalem, he is making note of the depiction of the origin of these people, right? And as we noted, one of the depictions or descriptions that many again say that they were of the race of Ethiopian origin. So in 70 AD, that was the belief. In 70 AD, that was the belief. But there are a few other nuggets that you can glean from Tacitus' account of what happened during that time. So keep in mind, so they're marching, they're heading down towards Jerusalem. He's writing this stuff down. And as he's going down there, he's describing everything, family. He's describing the way down there. He's describing what he's saying. He's describing the land, the grass, the bushes, everything. So much so that I think that this little paragraph right here is worth reading. So let's take a look. So here he's describing the land. And this is what I tell people about, when you talk about Jerusalem, when you talk about the land of Israel, one of the things we know about the land is that it is not only written in scripture, it is also written by their neighbors, the people that came and warred against them, the people that attacked them, the people that lost lives, the people that, whose armies were slaughtered by them. They wrote about them. They etched them in stone. This is why, to me, in my opinion, it's hard to move them from that place when you have all these testimonies of who they are and where they were. In fact, Tacitus is one such witness. Tacitus and Josephus, by the way. And it says, and they aren't the only ones, family. And it says, eastward the country is bounded by Arabia. To the south lies Egypt. On the west are the Phoenician and the Mediterranean. Northward, it commands an extensive prospect over Syria. The inhabitants are healthy, able to bear fatigue. Rain is uncommon, but the soil, now keep in mind, this is after the curses. After the curses have hit that land is barren and desolate, just as Deuteronomy 28 says would happen. And it says, rain is uncommon, but the soil is fertile. It says its products resemble our own. They have besides the palm tree and the palm groves are tall and graceful. The balsam is shrub, each branch as it fills with sap may be pierced with fragment of stone. If steel is employed, the veins shrink up. The sap is used by physicians. Libanus is the principal mountain and has, strange to say, amidst these burning heats, a summit shaded with trees, never deserted by its snows. The same rain supplies and sends forth the stream of Jordan. This river does not discharge itself into the sea, but flows entire through two lakes and is lost in the third. It says, this is a lake of vast circumference. It resembles the sea, but is more nauseous in taste. It breeds pestilence among those who live near by its noisome odor. It cannot be moved by the wind. It says, and it affords no home, either fish or water birds. These strange waters support what is thrown upon them, and it says the solid surface, and all persons, whether they can swim or not, are equally boiled up by the waves. So it looks like he's speaking about the Dead Sea. At a certain season of the year, the lake throws up bitumen. And it says, in the method of collecting, it has been taught by that experience, which teaches all other art. It says, it is naturally a fluid, dark color when vinegar sprinkles, as those who business are taken by hand. All right, let's skip all that stuff. All right. And it talks about, let's see, not far from this plain lies a plain, once fertile, they say, the site of great cities, but afterwards struck by lightning and consumed. Of this event, they declare traces still remain, for the soil, which is scorched in appearance, has lost its productive power. All right. So as you can see, Tacitus is he's taking note of all these things of Judah. So what we're doing, family, we're trying to take note of what happened in 70 AD. So Rome is advancing towards Jerusalem. Tacitus, among Josephus, among others, are noting this. And these are the things that he wrote down. Now, like I said, the Romans do not believe in the Most High, but as they were approaching Jerusalem on the Shabbat, on Passover, on Pesach, during a time of visitation by the Most High, this is what they saw. Now, granted, you have to, granted, to me, like their testimony speaks to how real the Most High is, because for them to not believe in it, but then they see this. It says, prodigies had occurred, which this nation, prone to superstition, but hating all religious rites, did not deem it lawful to expatiate by offering and sacrifice. And I know it's a word salad, but you just got to bear with me, fam. It says, there had been seen hosts joining battle in the skies, the fiery gleam of arms, the temple illuminated by a certain radiance from the clouds. Think about that, fam. The doors of the inner shrine were suddenly thrown open, and a voice of more than mortal tone was heard to cry that the gods were departing. There's a scripture that talks about how the Most High took up his hedge around the bottom. He pulled his hedge up, and his garden was going to be tread underfoot. This is, in my opinion, this is what this is the manifestation of the hedge. It was a literal physical hedge round about Jerusalem. You had the Most High's angels there protecting the people of Judah, the people of Jerusalem. And it said, at the time, there was a mighty stir as of departure. Some few put a fearful meaning on these events, but in most, there was a firm persuasion that in the ancient records of their priests was contained a prediction of how at this very time the East was going to grow powerful, and the rulers coming from Judea were to acquire a universal empire. These mysterious prophecies had pointed to Vespasian and Titus, but the common people, with the usual blindness of ambition, had interpreted these mighty destinies of themselves and could not be brought even by disasters to believe the truth. Hallelujah. So basically, when the people of Israel saw these things happen, they thought it was a good omen for them and not a omen of doom and destruction. But in any event, so the Romans come, they present themselves on Pesach, and they attack Israel on the Shabbat. So here we are, family. We have an attack on the Shabbat. It is as if the enemies of the Most High know that know to attack Israel on the Shabbat, especially after we just read in Matthew's, chapter 24, that the Messiah himself said, pray that you don't have to flee in, I'm just paraphrasing, you don't have to flee in the wintertime, nor that you have to flee during the Shabbat, right? Shabbat. So something about, the vulnerability of being attacked on the Shabbat. So that was 70 AD. Enemy presented themselves and attacked on the Shabbat. And maybe you're saying, oh, okay, well, that was just a coincidence. It's just something that happened. Maybe they didn't know, that, Israel was, or maybe they didn't think that Israel was vulnerable on the Shabbat. Well, let's take a look at that. So 1492, if you've heard of anything on this channel, family, you've known that 1492 was the time where the Israelites in Spain and Portugal, and particularly Spain, were expelled from Spain. It also occurred during what's called the 9th of Av, which is the same time that the temple was destroyed during Nebuchadnezzar, and that the temple of Jerusalem was destroyed in 70 AD by the Romans. During the 9th of Av in 1492, there was an edict decreed and declared that the Jews were to leave Spain immediately. And this occurred on the Shabbat. It occurred, you can see the date on there. It occurred August 2nd, 1492, which is the weekly Shabbat. So this edict again calls Israel to flee on the Shabbat, just as the Messiah said, pray that this don't happen. He gave that forewarning, said, pray, family, that this don't happen where you have to flee on the Shabbat. But here in 1492, we had to flee on the Shabbat, the 9th of Av. And then another time where we had to flee on the Shabbat. So maybe you're saying, all right, okay, well, that's just a coincidence, Brother BenaYAH. That's just something that happened. Sure, it happened on 70 AD. Sure, it happened in 1492. But surely the transatlantic slave trade didn't start on the Shabbat. Well, let's take a look. Did you know that the transatlantic slave trade started on the Shabbat? For 1501, Ovando, this is when over in the New World, they issued a letter, or there was a decree declared that allowed for the transportation of slaves to be taken from Spain over into, across the Atlantic, over into the New World. This occurred September the 16th, 1501, on the Shabbat. The decree and the declaration of the transatlantic slave trade occurred on the Shabbat. Does your enemy know that there's something about you and the Shabbat? When they come against you, why are they coming against you on the Shabbat? They came against Jerusalem on the Shabbat. They kicked you out of Spain on the Shabbat. Now they're putting your forefathers in chains on the Shabbat. There is a pattern here, family. There is a pattern here. But is that all? Is that all, Brother BenaYAH, that happened on the Shabbat? All right, so now our forefathers are in chains. Transatlantic slave trade, one of the most brutal captivities. There is. I would put it up there with anything, family. Hands, things getting cut off, skin, maiming, just everything. The Most High said that He would give us over into our enemies. So we were at the mercy of our enemies, and they had no mercy. They did anything and everything they wanted to us during that time. And so Israel, but the Most High gave us grace, family. He caused us to make it through. When you look back on the transatlantic slave trade, family, it's like you look back on it, you're like, man, there is no way that we could have made that through. There is no way, given all the death and destruction and the persecution and just being at the mercy of our enemies. There's no way that we could have made it, but we did. 400 years later, we made it out of that thing, right? Persecution, we made it out of that thing, family. But then after, we made it out of slavery, Emancipation Proclamation was given. What was the next persecution of our people after the Emancipation Proclamation? If you don't know, family, it is, people know about Black Wall Street, right? We know that during that time around Black Wall Street, like that was a time of another time of great massacres against our community. The chains had came off. This is when I talk about the ADL. The ADL was birthed in 1915, and the first things that they did when they were birthed, and really you have to look at the parent company that birthed them. The parent company that birthed the ADL was trying to get a black man, two innocent black men lynched for the crimes of an Ashkenazi, what the evidence was overwhelming. And it even went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's like, no, you did that, bro. You did it. And then, there was an exchanging of some money so that Leo Frank, he was the guy that got convicted of it. There was some exchanging of some money with the governor of Georgia. Like, hey, don't put him to death, because the penalty for raping a 13-year-old girl and murdering her was hanging. It was literally lynching. Lynching was the penalty for it, or for whoever did that. So he was due to be lynched, but money was exchanged. They were like, okay, and the government was like, okay, you know what? We're not going to do this. We just gonna give him life, and we gonna put him in this place, and he's gonna be good. And the crowd, some would say the crowd, or maybe even the family of of the girl that got unalive, they're like, nah, we gonna have our pound of flesh, and they grabbed him out of there, and then they lynched him. And then ever since then, the ADL has always been trying to go back in time and try to place that murder of that young lady onto innocent Black people. They actually still try to do that to this day. They were on the Breakfast Club touting that stuff. And not only that, I mean, I'm telling you that the ADL, they have always been up to something when it comes to our neighborhood. And in fact, let me play this clip about what the ADL is up to right now, because this is something else.
Everything we say, and they report what they want to report. This is rather chilling, but we need to run it. Chris, cut number 12.
We have a whole apparatus. I have 40 analysts working full-time, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, monitoring extremists. We monitor them online, social media, messaging apps, video games, cryptocurrency, podcasts, short-form video, Wikipedia, LLMs. We monitor these people, and we share the intelligence with the FBI. You saw last month, you heard about the thing that happened at Wilshire Boulevard Temple. Our analysts investigated what happened. They said they were Koreatown for Palestine, this group of people. They weren't. We were able to ascertain they were from a group called the Turtle Island Liberation Front. Turtle Island is how left-wing activists refer to the United States. On Monday, December the 15th, this is going to ring a bell. Kash Patel announced they cracked a terror ring where they arrested 4 people who were planning New Year's Eve bombings. Turtle Island Liberation Front. So we're monitoring left-wing radicals like the DSA and the anti-war crazies and the pro-Palestine crazies. We're monitoring right-wing extremists like white supremacists, armed militia groups. We're monitoring political Islamists and Christian nationalists, all of them. And then we train. We're the largest trainer of law enforcement in America, extremism hate. We train 20,000 officers every year.
They train 20,000 officers a year. 20,000. Who gave them the right and the authority to do that? The ADL, who was, supported and directed and guided, in my opinion, by the state of Israel, is over here in this country monitoring people. And I don't know if you've heard what he said, but basically he monitors anybody that they don't, that they don't agree with. And you best believe our community is on their website. So our community is part of that. And what they're saying is that anytime somebody comes up that they don't agree with, they report it to the FBI. And they train the police officers in your community. I'm telling you, family, who gave them the right? And then, especially when you look at when they were founded, of course, when Leo Frank was convicted, I'm telling you, family, he was convicted in August. In September, and of course, during that time, during the trial of Leo Frank, they were trying to pin the murders on these innocent Black guys, and they were calling these Blacks the N-words with the hard R. And they were talking about how they smelled. They were talking about how the crime was an N-word crime. They were talking about how the police officers, know Black N-words very well. It's all in their, these court records. And then they were talking about how they couldn't believe how folks were trying to listen to the testimony of these N-words over Leo Frank. But it wasn't just the innocent brothers. It was also over 20 women that worked at that facility where Leo Frank was that testified that, no, this dude, he tried to assault me. Basically, they were testifying against him that he was trying to do the same thing to them as well. But they leave all that out and they just kept focusing. You know how they do, family. They kept focusing on the 2 Black guys, right? And they kept saying, "Man, I can't believe how you guys are believing these N-words over Leo Frank." So what did they do? The very next month in September, they founded the ADL. The very folks that were talking about calling them N-words with the hard R, they founded the ADL the very next month. And then the very first thing that the ADL did when they were birthed and born and came onto the scene, they got into the film industry. And the very first thing they did when they got into the film industry, they started setting up censorship boards. They started controlling all of the films, what films were in, what films were out. And they were working with Mutual Films Corporation. The thing about Mutual Films Corporation, they are the ones that came up with Birth of a Nation, the most racist, the most substantial movie in Black history ever. This was the movie that glorified the KKK. This was the movie that was shown at the White House. This was the movie that was responsible for the revitalization, the rebirth of the Ku Klux Klan. And by the way, the reason why the Ku Klux Klan was still around, or at least was on life support, was because of Judah P. Benjamin, who was another Ashkenazi Jew who also kept them alive. In any case, family, fast forward, they're working with the folks that came up with Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation comes out. The Ku Klux Klan was reborn. They went on the top of Stone Mountain down here in Atlanta, Georgia. They reformed their chapter. Their chapter then goes worldwide. It goes from thousands to millions in short order. And then when they go to millions, family, this is when all hell breaks loose in our communities. This is when all these massacres start occurring in our communities. And there is probably none other that's more renowned, that's more horrible than Black Wall Street. And as we're talking about the Shabbat, when do you think Black Wall Street happened? Let's take a look. Black Wall Street started on the Shabbat. Black Wall Street started on Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks. Monday, May the 31st, 1921, Black Wall Street started during what folks would call Pentecost. Why are they attacking you on the Shabbat? They are attacking our people on the Shabbat. I'm telling you, family. They know something. They know something. So when you look at the pattern of when the greatest atrocities occurred to our people, whether you're talking about Black Wall Street, whether you're talking about slavery, whether you're talking about the expulsion edict in Spain, whether you're talking about Jerusalem being, destroyed, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. Now, the enemies, knowing that Israel, Israel had this propensity of not fighting back on the Shabbat. And really, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, the Apocrypha. And really, the best example of this is Judas Maccabeus. When, during the time, this is what I call the intertestamental period between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And during that time, during this time is when you find the limba that's down in South Africa. This is when you can literally find limba in maps during the time of the Maccabees in Israel on the backside of the Dead Sea, right over by the land territory of Moab is where you find the limba. Limba territory is literally there on the map during the time of the Maccabees. And in fact, when the Maccabees, Judas Maccabeus, was fighting on the Shabbat, because basically what he did, they prayed. It was like, look, we're not just going to be, laying down while they were attacking us on the Shabbat, thinking that we're just going to let them come and unalive us. We're going to fight back. And that's what Judas Maccabeus did. And in fact, the Most High blessed them for fighting on the Shabbat, for defending themselves on the Shabbat. I'm telling you, family, before Judas Maccabeus, this is one of those things, family, and this is one of those things where it does. We probably should come and revisit this at some point in time, family. But just to know that when Judas Maccabeus, the reason why he was so successful is what you see, family, is that he did this thing over and over again, and that is he would pray and fast, and praise the Most High. Like before, these major battles where they were outnumbered 10-1, 20-1. And he just had a motley crew of El Negroes, pray and fasted, and they were weak. They were even complaining. It's like, hey man, you don't got no food. You want us to go up against all those folks? So I can get a biscuit or something, you know. But they were being powered by the Most High. Most High gave them grace, gave them mercy, gave them power, and they went and conquered on the Shabbat. So said all that to say this, and I have to preface this, and just to let folks know, because I know we do have enemies out there that try to twist our message and stuff like that. And just to say that, hey, you don't have to worry about no violence from Israelites here over in the States, because according to prophecy, the judgment coming against Babylon is either going to depends on what you believe. It's either going to come from Russia, or it's either going to come, from one of his friends. But it's not from Israel here in the States. So if you got to be watching anybody, you got to watch them. And then another thing is that when we have our lessons, and this is what I tell people, is that, because the folks like the ADL always try to slander us by trying to portray us as violent people, which is, the furthest from the truth, because we don't have lessons that teach violence. In fact, we do our best to abide by, the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. We do our best to align with the principles and the commandments of the Most High Yah. Hallelujah. But they try to portray us as lawless, as iniquity. Keep in mind, like we talked about before, we're not the ones that's teaching iniquity. We're not the ones that's saying the laws are done away with. It's those people that are saying that the laws are done away with that are not bound by thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery. Those are the people you need to worry about, not the people that are trying to adhere to that. So just throwing that out there, just so that you know who to watch and who not to watch. All right. Well, all right, family. Hey, just want to put that out there that, look, there is a pattern of the Shabbat when it comes to attacking Israel. And, if the pattern holds, I would not be surprised if they tried to do it again. So just wanted to put that out there just to let you know that the main major events that occurred in the Black community occurred on the Shabbat. All right. Well, hey, family, like I said, I didn't want to keep it too long today. Just wanted to throw that one out there. Hadn't done a video in a while. So like I said, hopefully you guys are blessed.
All praises to the Most High. Man, how many of y'all knew that was the case for our people, that all of these occurrences occurred on the Sabbath Yom? I certainly did not know that. He talked about Black Wall Street, the transatlantic slave trade, even well, he didn't mention Rosewood. I don't think Rosewood fell under that criteria, but it certainly made me think about, anytime you bring up Black Wall Street, my mind jumps to Rosewood, because I had a sister who told us that Rosewood and Greenwood were Israelites, basically the same people. So anyhow, nevertheless, coming back to what we just saw here, wow, I did not realize that was the case, and it's certainly important for us to be mindful of, because chances are they're going to continue in the same pattern and in the same circumstances that they have already been. So we have to be mindful of these things and watch and pray. And I mentioned before the video started that there were some cases where we did fight back on the Sabbath and protected ourselves. So, it just depends on what spirit that the Most High have us in at that time. There were other cases where they just surrendered and, wouldn't lift up a hand on the Sabbath day, which is what often they depend on. But I don't think it's going to go well for them if they try it now. So we'll see. We'll see. I know it's just a matter of time. And he's absolutely right. It's not us that are going to be attacking them. It's these other nations. That's what the Most High have set forth. He set adversaries in the earth to go up against them, and it's not Israel. When our time comes, you won't be facing these fleshly bodies. You're gonna be facing something different, something much different that you will not be able to defeat. You know your weapons, so you don't have to worry about the men, the flesh on this side, but you better worry about your adversaries all over the world, because not only have you done evil to us, you've done evil to various people, and various of you peoples are going to seek retribution against you. So that's all I got. What you got on that, Akeem?
Con, just a quick search. I was able to figure out that you remember the mass shooting in the Buffalo supermarket where the racist had turned his gun, his rifle on many of our people in that supermarket. That was so-called, Gregorian calendar, May 14th, 2022. That indeed was a Sabbath day.
Wow.
Yeah, indeed. So, I'm interested in doing more research on that. He's kind of piqued my interest on that. We're living in some perilous times that that we read about in the scriptures. Clinging to the Most High and His only begotten Son is our only hope. Having that faith, and also being manly and courageous is what we're commanded to do. So there's no fear, no fear. We just pray that the Most High be with us, through it all. So I'll yield. Well, I'm glad that he also mentioned that it's not our intent to cause problems, but if you bring problems to us, there's only one way to resolve that.
Exactly.
We're not out here looking for trouble.
Right.
This is not our land. We want to go home. You have, and I say it's certain people, and it's always been those that hate us and oppress us. So that's who our problem is with. And like I said, we're not looking for problems, but you bring problems to us, and you'll find them. And the scriptures don't ever tell us not to defend ourselves.
Right. Exactly.
We don't gather that from what I read from the scriptures. Mashiach said, these are the days of vengeance. Sell your garment and buy two swords.
Indeed.
God. So I'll yield there. But no, we're not looking for problems, man. But we're going to be bold and courageous in the face of adversity, because we know who our power is and where it comes from.
Indeed. And know that we are family people. Most of us have wives. Most of us have children. And as men of the Most High, our obligation is to protect our families. And so we don't think that we're just going to sit back and let some heathen come in and attack and think that it's going to be all right. It's not going to be all right, because we're going to defend what's ours with our lives. So, and my obligation is my brother. So if I'm defending mine, I got to defend his. It's tooth and nail. It's no end in sight. Because if you're bold enough to attack, then you're bold enough to try to wipe all of us out. So my obligation is to protect that. So all praises to the Most High for the elder and bringing forth this information. Man, I was not privy to such information, but I bet there are a lot of instances where that was the case, that they targeted us during those times. So praises to the Abba that we are aware of these things and will be mentally, physically, and spiritually prepared when those things do come about. But I will go ahead and close it on out. I hope you have enjoyed this new moon video review. We do this for a very specific purpose. Why do we do it? Romans chapter 10 and verse 1, brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to Ha'abba for Israel is that they might be saved. We want to see our people saved. We want to see our people set free. We want to see our people elevated to the place that the Most High have promised for us. How we going to do it? Number one, we're going to keep the faith and the belief in the Messiah, Hamashiach, in his return to do that which the Most High have set forth. Number two, Ecclesiastes chapter number 12 and verse number 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It is so very important to understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we are to fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. At the end of the day, when it is all said and done, all the dust is settled and all the smoke is cleared, we will be judged on whether we have feared the Most High and kept his commandments. Why? Because this is the whole duty of man. I am your Akazaki Yahu, joined by my most esteemed Ak Akinanaya, giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Wamalak, Yahweh Shah, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four corners of the earth. I say Shalom, Wa, Baruchim, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day when the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, back in our own land with a heart of flesh and no more a heart of stone, with our enemies, our adversaries, and all those who hate us under our feet. Until that day come, Shalom, family.
Shalom and happy new moon, Yasharal.
Happy new moon. Yes, indeed. All praises to the Most High. Praise you, Abba Yah. Kwam Yasha'Allah.
Kwam Yashala.
And Barak Hashem Yahweh.